The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers for miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to 4-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
Okay, we have a young lady here that's been involved with this group for many, many years, and she'd like to let us know what we're all about tonight and go from there, please. Go right ahead.
We're the Greater Centerville Historians, and I would like to thank everyone for coming. My name is Kathy Sixel, and it is November 13th, 2006, and it was sort of an overcast day today. And as we begin, I think we should have the Pledge of Allegiance to honor all our veterans who did so much for us. If it wouldn't be for them, probably many of us would not be here.
True. Very good. Could we all stand, please, and face the flag? And Kathy, would you lead us, please? Or Charlie?
Charlie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. And Kathy, I guess we'll continue on. Would you like to put in the rules and regulations before we do the intro?
Okay, I'm Kathy Sixel, and we're really a real laid-back group. But if you have some information you would like to share, please raise your hand, because then Mr. O'Neill will be able to address you. Always state your full name. Try and use full names when referring to people. And please don't visit, because it picks up in the camera.
Okay.
And I'll try to remember that.
Okay.
And the card I sent
Yes.
out, I received from Audrey Ertle, and she's sitting right down there, and that's of her parents' cheese factory, and we thought in the 1930s. And it certainly brings us back wonderful memories of years ago and so on, the sleigh, or the bobsleigh.
Okay. Now we'll go with the introductions of everybody. I'll let you do that one more time.
Okay, I'm Kathy Sixel, and I come from Newton, Wisconsin.
Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Ramber Emmerich, and I come from Kansas.
Thank you very much.
Here this year.
Welcome
Why
aboard.
don't you ask him where he's living right now,
Oh,
what
yes.
he's doing?
Okay, where are you living, sir?
I'm living here in town, and I'm building the new cheese plant for the Klessigs and the Heimerls, the Saxon Creamery.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And who do you have here, please?
Hi, Brian Kramer from Town of Centerville.
Thank you, Brian. And who do you have here, please?
Joyce Kramer from Cleveland.
Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Daniel Rathman from New Mexico, and I'm just moving up here now.
Okay, welcome aboard.
And where are you living, Daniel?
I live at the house by the cheese factory on the corner of Centerville and X.
Okay.
That would be Maple Leaf, correct, Clarence? Clarence, that would be Maple Leaf Cheese Factory.
Sixth Cheese Factory.
Sixth Cheese Factory? Okay.
Very good, thank you. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Fred Jacoby. I live in Manitowoc now.
Okay, thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Daniel Schmidt, Elkhart Lake.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And who do you have here?
Naomi Schmidt, Elkhart Lake.
Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Ruth Russell from Sheboygan.
Thank you.
Marie Boland, Town of Sheboygan.
Thank you very much. We'll pan over here. And who do you have here, please?
Audrey Ertle from St. Nazians.
Okay, Audrey, thank you. And who do you have here?
Clarence Brookson from Cleveland.
Thank you, Clarence.
Virginia Brookson from Cleveland.
Thank you. And we'll pan over here.
Willard Mathias from Cleveland.
Thank you, Willard. And who do you have here, please?
Walter Kress from Cleveland.
Thank you, Walter.
Joe Kress from the town of Mosel.
Thank you.
Peggy Ann Kress from the Town of Mosel.
Very good.
Kathy Wagner from Cleveland.
Thank you.
Dolores Kress from Cleveland.
Thank you.
Marie Pippard, Cleveland.
Very good.
Edith Litzy, Cleveland.
Very good.
Charlie Bauer from Newton.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. I'm gonna cut. Okay, we got a gentleman here who'd like to introduce himself.
John Wiegand, Town of Centerville.
Thank you, John. And who do you have here, please?
Cleveland.
Thank you very much. And my name is Jerry O'Neill, the videographer. And for the start of the evening, we have a clip, as we call it, a video clip, to show some on-site factories that we had videotaped back in September. And we'd like to have you view those. And we're missing, I'd say, a lot of information at this point in time. And we'd really appreciate any input, pictures, information that we could get from you folks. So at this point in time, we'll start the video clip. Okay, we got a young lady here who would like to say a few words.
Okay, watch the video of the rest of the cheese factories that we tried to find. We had another little clip of, and that was down in Cleveland. There were supposed to be 2 more cheese factories, but nobody seems to know where or what happened to them. But I watched the video or the DVD from last month, and I think we'll start with Brian Kramer and Joyce, and they can finish up on Clover Leaf Cheese Factory.
Okay.
And Clover Leaf Cheese Factory is located on X and Union, South Union Road.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a young lady who has one thing to add. Go right ahead, please.
Kathy Sixel, and I said on the tape, I thought that Ed Finkelmeyer was the last cheesemaker there. But I think we have other information from Joyce, and she thinks not.
Okay.
But Ellen Voss thought Ed Finkelmeyer was the last one, so I don't know.
Okay, very good. We'll try and clear that matter up.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're looking at an old picture of a cheese factory that has a lot of memories to it, and these people here will maybe clear up a few questions that might be around. Go right ahead, please, and introduce yourself.
I'm Joyce Kramer,
Hi, Joyce.
and this is a picture of the Cloverleaf Cheese Factory.
Okay. And do you know what the year again that might have been taken?
About 1887.
Around 1887.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And this is Oscar Barthel and his wife on here.
Okay. If you could speak a little louder, please. Pardon me.
My great-grandfather bought the factory from Leo Klessig.
From Leo Klessig.
Yeah, and he
Okay.
set up his son Oscar in cheese making there.
All right.
And he rebuilt it. They moved the factory and then he rebuilt it. And then he operated until 1908.
All right.
And then Ed Lutze operated until 1914.
Okay.
And then it was owned by Henry Mathias for 6 months until it was bought as a co-op, farmer's co-op.
Okay, and that farmer's co-op had a name to it or anything?
I
think that's when it was the Clover Leaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the co-op operated until Lake to Lake Dairy was formed.
Okay.
And until 1908, the living quarters were in the factory.
Okay, could you point out where they might have been?
I don't know. Probably here, huh?
Well, it's really hard to tell.
I remember the vats were over here.
Just one moment, please. Where was the vats?
The vats were on this side.
On that side?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the living quarters are probably
Over
this
there,
side.
okay. Now, again, this picture that I see, is that what we see at this point in time from the Union Road?
Yes.
Okay. And my question to you is pertaining to the stone portion of the building at this time. Do you
Okay.
know anything about that story?
Well,
What's your name?
my name's Brian Kramer. I'm the present owner of the cheese factory.
Thank you, Brian.
The stone portion may have been added around 1899. There's I don't know if it was mentioned last time, but up on the one eave or whatever up there, there's embedded in there with nails or whatever. There's a 1899 is embedded in the wood.
Oh.
So I
okay.
think the stone part may have been added, and that's the time somebody mentioned that there was a portion of Klessig Cheese Factory moved down there.
Okay.
Because if you look at where the intake is,
Okay, can you show that picture
Sure.
and hold it still for me, please?
if you look at where the intake portion is,
Yes, sir.
this part here is a longer stretch now. So
Okay.
they did add on going to the north. So I'm not sure if there was a From this angle, you can't tell if there was a partial stone part back there or if they added the full stone portion later.
Okay, going back for a moment, if I may interrupt. The move of a certain portion of a different factory, you're saying, was moved to this building?
Right. I think when they talked about one of the classic cheese factories, and I think it was the one down on down by Saxon
Okay,
Farms.
all right,
A portion of that factory was moved and added onto this one.
all right. Okay, very good.
You know,
Okay, anything else, Joyce?
This building over here was a sawmill.
Back of the cheese factory
Next to
was
the-
a sawmill?
Next to the factory was a sawmill, and my great-grandfather also ran that.
And your great-grandfather's name was what?
in Greek, Johann Gottlieb.
Johann Gottlieb.
Johann Gottlieb,
Yeah.
okay. And,
Barthel.
Yes.
say that one more time, please?
Johann Gottlieb Barthel.
Barthel, okay.
Okay, when I moved out in 1943, then Ed Finkelmeyer was the cheesemaker. And
Okay.
he and his 3 children, I think there was a grandma living there too.
All right.
And Ed liked to sing so much, and he would sing so loud we could hear him over by us all the time. And
Now, if you could clear one more thing up for me, please. There's a brick home right on the very corner, which would be
Yes.
to the south of the cheese factory. Was that the home of the cheesemaker, or who was that belong to?
that's where the cheesemaker lived. And that
Okay.
house was moved there also.
Oh, that was moved there also?
Mhm.
Oh,
And I think, you know where it was?
Yep.
okay, maybe you got some information, Brian?
Yep. The house was actually located on a sawmill on Westview Road and South Fisher Creek Road. There used to be a sawmill down by the creek down there.
Okay,
That house was then jacked up and pulled by horses diagonally across through the fields over to the present location where they reset it and put brick around it.
wow, okay, I don't think anybody ever mentioned that. That was a brick home at that time? or
No,
was
it was not a brick home
Oh.
until they moved it.
Till they moved it, then they put brick around it?
Correct.
So it
And
was
they
a wood frame home then, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anything, Joyce?
Yeah, they added the kitchen on there.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Joyce,
Porch.
clear up, when you came out here, you said,
Yeah.
okay, tell them where you, or tell us where you came to.
Oh, Sheboygan.
No, you
Oh,
came from,
oh.
but where did you move to?
We moved to the home farm.
Okay, the
This
home
is-
farm. Now,
yeah.
could you just hold that for a moment,
This
please?
is a picture of my great-grandfather and his children
Okay,
on the front lawn, and this is where Brian lives now.
okay, now this is across the road from
the
the cheese
east.
factory.
To
Okay,
the east, yeah.
okay, and what other people owned that property? Was it, now, go back to that was your grandfather again?
Great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather, and his name one more time?
Johann Gottlieb Barthel.
Okay, so he lived there, and then any other owners took?
Well, then it was passed down to my grandfather,
And his name was what?
Henry Barthel,
Okay,
and then it went down to my mother, and she was Lily Barthel Yenig,
okay, and married to what Yannick?
Alfred.
Elford Yannick?
Hmm.
All right,
And then it went down to my husband and I,
okay, and your husband?
Charles Kramer,
Okay,
and now it's down to Brian.
so how many generations is that then?
Brian's children would be the 7th generation.
7th generation?
Yeah.
Wow, excellent.
Okay, after Ed Finkelmeyer left, then we had a cheesemaker there by the name of Preter. And he wasn't there real long, and then he moved to Denmark.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to repeat that name. Is it Preter?
Preter, P-R-E-D-E-R.
Thank you.
Okay, and after he left, then Bart Mathias ran it for a little while. And then there was, by 1947, and it closed.
Okay.
And my father bought it back because it originally belonged to the farm.
All right. Okay, I noticed there's a barn or something to the north of the cheese factory. Was that part of the sawmill?
Right. that
Oh, it
part-
was?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
the sawmill.
All right. And the sawmill was owned also by,
My great-grandfather,
All
Julius, Johann.
all right, very good.
That about covers it, I
That's
think.
how it covers it. Okay, anything from you, Brian?
I'm just gonna add a little story, which is,
Wonderful.
I don't know how entirely it's gonna be, but I can remember my grandfather telling me, during World War I, all the farmers would meet hauling milk to the cheese factory, and they would get together and talk about the war or whatever, but there was always it was something about the government being worried about all the German farmers that were, if they were going to be loyal to Germany or the United States.
Okay.
But it was something to that effect. I wish I would have paid more attention back then, but it was because he'd tell a couple stories about the farmers meeting at the cheese factory. It was kind of like a social gathering place as well.
All right. Well, I can imagine the cheese factory at that moment in time, early in the morning, a lot of farmers would gather there almost as simultaneously.
Exactly.
And it would be a place to transfer some information around.
And gossip, I suppose.
And gossip, yes. Now, just a question, usually as Mr. Bauer often said, wherever there was a cheese factory, there was usually a schoolhouse close by. Was there a schoolhouse in your vicinity?
Yes.
Yeah.
A mile?
1 mile to the
mile.
north was, what was the name
La
of it?
Follette School.
La Follette.
La Follette School, okay.
And my mother went there and I went there.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Anything else you'd like to conclude with as far as the traditions that are there?
I just got one quick question.
Just one moment. Okay, so we have a gentleman with a question. Go right ahead, please.
Charlie Bauer, and they're talking about the cheese factory, and I was just wondering, did you just make cheese there, or did you make butter or other things there besides just cheese?
Okay. Good question. Thank you. I had a question on the floor pertaining to the products that were produced at that particular factory, and this young lady will answer that question.
Yes, Joyce Creamer.
Yes, thank you.
And they just made cheese there. But we could buy our butter there.
You could buy butter there.
Yeah, I don't know where they got it, but
Okay.
we could get it there. And when I was first moved out there, of course, we had to seek the stamps because the war was on. You had to have
Oh, that was
stamps
World
to
War
get-
II?
Yeah,
Okay.
you had to have stamps to get stuff.
Okay.
So I was sent over to get some butter, and they gave me the stamps, and it was real windy, and the stamps blew away.
Oh, no. Oh.
When I got there, Mr. Finkelmeyer gave me the cheese
You
anyway,
get
butter
anyway.
And Brian brought to my attention here,
Yes.
my great-grandfather's name was Robert Barthel, and Johann was his father. He's the one that came over from
Oh,
Germany.
okay.
So
Okay.
it was Robert Barthel.
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit in time where they came from Germany. Any particular area in Germany that you can recall or know about?
Saxon.
Saxon area.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Things that's Prussia.
Thank you. Okay, we have a little dispute, if you will, mild, of course, but there's some information that can be presented here.
Okay, Brian Kramer. There's a little conflict about exactly which part of Germany they came from. Could have been Saxony. On the map listing the settlers that the Centerville settlement has, it's actually listed as Prussia as the home thing, but
Oh,
Prussia may have been listed, it was part of Germany, so
Yeah,
it could
yeah.
have been the same area. But it
Okay.
was definitely the area of the other German settlers that
Okay.
settled here.
all right. Very good. And Joyce, your maiden name again one more time?
My maiden name is Yanik,
Yannick. Okay. Very good.
But the Sedgwick family farm was Barthel.
but the family farm was Barthel on my mother's side.
All right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was the only daughter. Well, she was the only child left.
All right. Very good. And does that more or less conclude everything you
Yes.
have at your disposal?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we got a gentleman raise his hand, and he'd like to maybe present some information or maybe a question. Right ahead, please.
I'm Fred Jacoby, and I grew up on the corner of Centerville Road and X, just a few hundred yards north of the Sixel factory.
Okay.
And my parents bought the farm on the northeast quadrant of that intersection from one of the Kilsmeyers in 1922.
Okay.
And at that time, Kilsmeyers owned 3 houses in a row, sort of. The house on our farm was built new in about 1906.
Okay.
No, 12. And then there was a house on the corner on the southeast quadrant of the intersection, and that's been long gone. It's gone probably more than 60 years now. It was abandoned for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The children moved away,
Mm-hmm.
and the grandmother that had lived there died, and it's and there was a dispute among the family, and so nothing was done. And so finally, Ray Groody bought it and tore it down and used it to build buildings on his farm. I think that's F, isn't it, where he had his farm?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so anyway, and then there was a mention of Kilsmeyer being the last cheesemaker. Well, Sixel was the last cheesemaker.
What Sixel was?
Otto Sixel. The name was
Sixel.
Yeah, the name was recorded before.
All right.
And the question is, and I don't know if Audrey got it straight, about when they finally might have, or Clarence might know, when they finally stopped, but it was 35 or so, 36 maybe?
In the Manitowoc Historical Society, it's in 1933.
That is, I think it was longer than that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we'll talk about that one.
But something like that. It was mid-30s. I remember driving with my father over taking milk there, and I was born in 31, and I don't think I'd remember 33. And I remember going with my father taking milk over there.
Okay.
So
Now, your farm location, if I may ask that?
just across X on the north side of X,
Oh, okay.
the northeast quadrant of the intersection is
Oh,
where the
okay.
buildings are. And my parents bought that from Kilsmeyer's, and they owned the factory, the house on the corner, and that farm,
All right.
and so on. Let's see. Regarding the Kepsel thing,
Mm-hmm.
somebody might be able to, this I don't remember so sure, but I think that there might have been 2 fires there.
Okay.
The factory and later on the tavern, but I'm a little fuzzy on that. Seems to me, I remember a big fire maybe about 1940 when I was just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then he built up a new, very modern bar room and everything at that time. And then the building that you showed where he kept his trucks,
Yes.
somewhere in the line there, he stopped taking in milk himself and hauled milk for Very Fine, and Very Fine was assigned up to farmers.
Okay.
Then he kept his trucks.
Sure.
That building, I think, was moved in there. He moved that building in there across the road and kept his trucks there. And I'm wondering, and this is something that somebody might know better than me too, but I'm wondering if those are the Very Fine roots then that Alvin Gordygood had later.
Okay.
Maybe somebody else can. That's in my mind kind of, but I'm not real sure that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, we had a lady raise her hand, and she'll identify herself. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Audrey Ertle, and what I found from the Manitowoc County Historical Society, August Barr was a cheesemaker there in 1893.
Now, at what cheese factory?
Town Line Cheese Factory, that's the one that
That's the one that they talk about with Kepsel and...
Right.
Okay, here we
So
go.
August Barr would have been there in 1893. And then when we talked about this cheese factory, Maple Leaf Cheese Factory, and I wanted to know where the boiler was, and they said there possibly wouldn't have been a boiler.
Okay.
This is what a vat looks like with the heating underneath the vat. And I can
Oh,
understand why cheese factories burned.
Yes. Probably a wooden vat, too.
Yeah, wooden. So I'll pass it.
Yes, that would be very interesting
I'll
for people to see.
pass it around.
Thank
You can look at it.
Okay, thank you very much.
And then I have a question. My father's cheese factory had that long chimney, and somebody said that was a mark of a cheese factory. You could always tell that was a cheese factory because they had that long chimney.
Okay.
Was that only when you had a boiler that they had the long cheese,
Stack or?
the long stack?
Okay, very good. We got a question there, very good. Thank you.
And then I have one other thing.
Go right ahead.
Charlie and I had dispute about Town Line Cheese Factory, and then the one that they showed with the evergreen tree and the rose bush and the driveway in.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the Manitowoc County Historical Society, and on the 1893 plat book, it shows right there, that little thing, and then it just had HFD on there. So I said to the woman, what does the HFD stand for?
Okay.
And she said that was Herman F. Dassler. So she told me, she got out some cards and she had some information on the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And the Manitowoc Tribune, 1890 tax roll, Herman Dassler, half an acre, north, NEPT of north 1/2 of northeast 1/4 of northeast 1/4. And then the plat book of 1893, HFD Cheese Factory.
Okay.
1878, this was all from the Manitowoc Tribune.
All right.
March 28th, fell off the sidewalk and broke his leg. That's Herman Dassler.
Okay.
And then in 1897, April 22nd, H.F. Dassler is laid up with a bum leg. He accidentally came in contact with a rough box.
A rough box. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It just that's what the. Oh, I can pass the papers around and you can read them. This is copies of the newspapers that when I went to the library. And it's all. He lived in Cleveland. It's all Cleveland clippings.
Can you tell us anything more about him?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go.
1897, June 10th, H.F. Dassler sold his cheese factory to Bilkowski, Bilkowski, for $100. The factory is located on the Town Line Road between Newton and Centerville and has been idle for the past 5 years. So that's the
one that had just a cornfield and that.
Yes, and the evergreen and
there
the rose bush.
Okay.
And then on August, this is still from the Manitowoc Tribune, August 5th, quite a storm passed through Cleveland on Sunday. The chimney of H.F. Dassler's carpenter shop was blown down. November 21st, 1899, Herman Dassler married Elvina Amihin. There was more in a paper called Die Wahrheit, and I don't know.
That's a German paper, perhaps?
That's a German paper, and Die Wahrheit means the truth. I didn't copy it, any of it, because my German isn't very good.
Audrey, I gotta take my hat off to you. Marvelous job of investigation.
Well, I keep digging. I didn't want Charlie to get ahead of me.
Wonderful job. I gotta take my hat off to you. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, we got a lady who raised her hand and said she has a question. Your name, please?
Edith Litzy. And I just wanted to find out from Audrey, when did your father demolish the factory?
Thank you.
Because all of the stuff that was from the factory is on our farm.
Okay, thank you.
Ertle.
Yes,
and I think
thank you.
when the factory was torn down, that was about 1964, 63, 64, something in there.
Okay.
My father didn't want to pay taxes on an empty building, or not so much taxes on an empty building.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought, I'll tear it down.
Okay.
But I think eventually, when 149 was widened, the factory would have been too close to the road to start with.
All right. Audrey, I'm going to ask you a question since you're so knowledgeable. In that little burg at that intersection, can you name off the other buildings that were around there? Like there was a garage or something, I believe. There was a dance hall or tavern or something.
Oh.
Could you name some of those off for me?
Sure. Just east on the other side, on the northeast side of the intersection of 149 and Union Road, it was Carl Rick's Tavern. He and his father built that tavern.
Okay.
And then it was Hitzler, and after Hitzler it was John Drull. And
Okay.
after John Drull, I don't know, there was a Schmidt in there, and there was a Nickelbein.
Okay.
Oh, Huey Gahagan was in there too.
Okay, where did he fit in between all these people, do you know? Or?
Well, that was after. There was John Drull, and then Alvin Drull, his son, took over, and then after that it was all these other, they weren't in there very long.
Yeah.
And then the place burnt down.
Okay, all right. And that was a tavern and a dance hall?
A tavern with a dance hall upstairs, and when Carl Rick built that, he had buildings on the west end where he had some kind of a cattle business, and he also had a slaughterhouse just north of the tavern.
Really?
And I know at one time he talked about he lost a very expensive cow, and he was quite a character.
Okay, all right.
And then across the
street?
road,
Yep.
across the road to the south of the tavern was Fred Culp had a blacksmith shop,
Okay,
and his son Clarence. They only had that one son, and then they sold to Fred Zone, and he had a cattle trucking business.
okay.
And then Francis Schneider bought it, and he made a garage out of it. And now, does anybody know what the name of the garage is now? Warren Wyan.
Say it one more time.
Warren Wyan.
I-43 garage, you call it.
I-43 garage.
Okay, okay. Now, on the other corner, there's nothing at this time. It's a farmland, apparently.
Right.
Was there ever anything
No,
there?
never.
Okay, all right. And I guess that pretty well takes care of it. Very good job.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we had a gentleman raise his hand. He'll identify himself. Go right ahead, please.
Fred Jacoby. I forgot to mention before my recollection of the boiler in the Sixel factory was just inside the north entrance there, on the north side of that
Okay,
building. You know, that building is sort of like two parts in a way.
yeah.
And the north, and then the steam from there heated the house too.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I think that wasn't uncommon.
Okay, very good. So they didn't, they had use for that boiler all the way through the evening and into the day. Very good. Okay, thank you. Got a couple here who have celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary about a couple weeks ago, I believe. But this gentleman said he was a patron, I believe, of a certain factory. Go right ahead.
Clarence Brooks and talking, I'm my wife, Virginia.
Okay, thank you.
My folks, we hauled milk there. I remember
To what factory, if I may ask?
we were talking about, well, you called it the Kilsemeyer factory, I called it the Sixel factory.
Okay,
Which I still think to this day it is called the Sixel factory.
okay.
And I remember hauling milk there with the one horse, and we used to race Herbert Gruby. You hauled milk there, and we all tried to be the first ones there, you know.
You had some race horses on your hands.
Yeah.
Very-
That's all. I was never in the building.
Okay,
I seen it from the outside, but I never went in the building.
okay. If I may ask, at that time in your life, how many cans of milk did you haul, and was it the small ones or was it the large ones?
It was the large ones.
Okay. And how many of
At
those?
that time, we didn't have the small ones yet.
All right, okay. And that was the 15-gallon, I think they all indicated that, or?
10, I think. Huh?
No, 10 were the cream cans, weren't they?
No, not the critter. That was the ones with the outside handles.
Oh, okay.
They're big ones.
100 pounds of milk.
100 pounds of milk. Okay, and how many did you have on your wagon?
Well, it just depends how big the farmer was.
How many did you have?
About 5.
5 of them, okay, okay. And how many cows did you milk at that time?
Oh, around 30.
Okay. Was milking by hand, or did you have the machine at that time?
Had a machine.
Okay. Any particular brand of machine? Was it a Surge or a Deal valve, or?
I don't remember what the name of
Okay.
it was no more. As
Okay.
long as I didn't have to milk it by hand.
I agree. Well, thank you very, very much. Good job. Okay, we got a gentleman who raised his hand, had a question. Go right ahead, please.
Charlie Bauer, and this question I'm going to ask Fred, and I don't know if you can answer or not, but I know there was a Maple Leaf Dairy, and just real close to it was Maple Leaf School, and that triggered a little question in my mind: did the chicken or the egg come first? You know, so I went to the library and I got a book, and District 6 School was called the Jacoby School before it was named Maple Leaf School, and they said in the book here that it was because it was on the property from the Jacoby farm. I was just wondering if that was related to Fred, or if the property belonged to Fred's family, or...
Okay, also, I'll ask a question before I go by Fred. What is the name of the book you're looking at?
The Centennial History of the Manitowoc County School Districts and the Public School System, 1848 to 1948.
Okay, that was a centennial type thing, I presume?
Yes.
Okay.
And all the schools had to have a proper name. And that was done by the state of Wisconsin in 1917. And that was triggered because the post office started RFD, rule-free delivery. And when the post office started the rule-free delivery, all the mail was delivered to a proper name. It had nothing to do with the address. It went to like Charlie Bauer or John Smith, and it would be John Smith, Route 1, or RFD Newton. So, as a rule carrier, I delivered mail in Centerville, Newton, Mimi, and the town of Liberty, and they all had a District 1 school or a District 2 school, so the schools had to come up with a proper name, and the state gave that authority to the local school board to come up with a name. And the book says that the school was named after the cheese factory, so the cheese factory was named Maple Leaf Dairy before the school was.
Okay.
But prior to that time, they called it the Jacoby School, and I want Fred to clear it up for me.
Oh, right. Thank you, Charlie. Good job. Thank you, Clarence.
About that school business,
Yes.
here it says Centerville School District 6 was designed the Maple Leaf School in 1918. To conform the requirements of Chapter 36 laws of Wisconsin, it was given the name because it's situated across from the road from the Maple Leaf Cheese Factory.
Okay, all right.
So in other words, it could have been called the Jacoby School first.
Okay, okay. And was that Jacoby land that this was on then, right?
No,
No?
Shooty land,
Shooty land. Yeah,
but it was still called often.
because the water for the school was from Shooty.
And other land.
And what was the name of the shooty? What was his name?
Edwin.
Edwin Shooty? Okay.
Edwin Shooty.
That would have been Edwin's father.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some questions in regard to cheese factories and farmland and schools. Go right ahead, please.
Fred Jacoby. The interesting thing is about that account pretty well says that the cheese factory was named Maple Leaf first. But by the time I was a kid, I never heard it called that. They just called it the Sixel factory. And I suppose that's because he was there.
Fred Shooty.
That's right. Fred Shooty was the owner of that farm.
Okay.
And that was kitty corner from our farm. But it was called, well, the funny thing is that one, and the La Follette School was sometimes called Jacoby School too, because that was closer to our homestead over there, where my father grew up, his family. And then my father was involved all the time in the Maple Leaf School District, and so there are some accounts where it's referred to as Jacoby School, but that was just what some people said. That was not ever part of the name. And as like Clarence said, the water came from Shooty's overflow from the well, and so we had running water at that school in the basement, a water fountain.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's all I can really
Okay.
say.
Sounds all right.
But it really was not on our land or no connection with our land.
All right. Very good, thank you. Okay, we got a lady here who has raised her hand. Go right ahead, please.
Kathy Sixel, and Frederick Jacoby said, referred to his homestead. Where was your homestead, Frederick?
All right.
Okay, we have a question on the floor pertaining to Fred's homestead. Go right ahead, please.
Well, Fred Jacoby, actually what I was referring to at that time was the La Follette School that Joyce talked about before at Union Road and, what's that other road? Point Creek Road. And that's where my father went to school, and the homestead, his homestead was a mile east, which would have, what do they call it now? It used to be Old 141, but there's a name. Is that Westview Road? And that farm then was taken over by my uncle, Fred Jacoby, and then his son, Albert, better known as Bud Jacoby. and that's the last of the Jacoby farming there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, this evening we had a clip about the Matthias Dairy, and this gentleman will identify himself, and he somehow knows a few things about it. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Walter Kress, and I worked in the Insurance Garage that time, and we serviced their trucks.
Okay, okay.
Changed engines and axles and
Okay,
round valves.
all right. I suppose after a deep snowfall, the axles came flying out of the trucks too, huh?
Right.
What kind of mechanic were you? Were you in
Just a
specialized or?
No, just a regular mechanic.
Okay, okay. Engines, anything you could?
Anything that came along.
All right. And how many years did you work in the garage?
Oh, about 10
Okay, all right.
to 1952.
All right, okay, very good, thank you. Okay, we have a gentleman who raised his hand. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Willard Mathias, talking about Walter being a mechanic. When years ago, when we had 3 milk trucks on the road, plus the ones that delivered house to house. And when, say, like at Shurey's garage or so, or he worked also at the Schneider garage.
Okay.
We'd take a truck up there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We need it tomorrow morning. So between Wally and Schneider, they'd have to work almost all night long to get that truck in shape again for the next day. So we had them guys working pretty good. And later on, after a while, then we had our own mechanic and work on the trucks. And we bought each extra truck for house-to-house delivery and one more for on the farm deliveries, so that we didn't have to tie up a man all night to get the truck fixed the next day for the next day.
Okay, okay.
So we had a lot of fixing going on there.
Okay.
We always had some jockeys driving them trucks. You never know, you know. What happens.
Were the jockeys here tonight or any at all?
No, they're not here.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, yes, go ahead, Mike.
Ernie told me once that you had 2 identical Chevy trucks.
The what?
2 identical Chevy trucks.
Yeah.
And one would start all the time, and the other one would only start when it was above 0. As soon as it was below 0, and the other one would start at 30 below. Identical trucks.
Okay, very good, thank you. We got a young lady here who would like to say a few words. Go right ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Naomi Schmidt.
Yes.
And I've got 2 pictures here from
Okay.
old cheese factories
Good.
that my dad took. My dad's name was Bruno Zill.
Could you
and
repeat that one more time?
My dad's name was Bruno Zill.
Bruno Zill, okay.
And I don't know where they are. And I was just wondering when Joyce before showed some of her pictures, if that could be from her cheese factory, because my dad went to La Follette School.
Okay. All right, could you show us the pictures before we get them over by Joyce? Just hold them up there, please. Ah. My golly. Just hold it nice and steady. Thank you. Wow. Okay, and do you have another picture, ma'am?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you can hold that for a moment. Okay, I thank you very, very much. And that was your dad that took those pictures?
Correct.
Okay. Could we pass them up by Joyce for just a moment?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, we're looking at a colored picture of I believe, a cheese factory, and this lady can identify it and give us some information.
This is the Pine Grove Cheese Factory, and it is located on Union Road and Point Creek Road. And Alfred Adolf Klessig was there at one time, and I got some information from Eldon Voss. He said that Gilbert Blanke was the cheesemaker, and his wife's name was Verona. They had 2 sons, Harold and Gilbert, and La Follette School got the water from there, and Eldon worked at the cheese factory as a child and also went to La Follette School, so he had to take water from the cheese factory for the bubbler. Another cheesemaker was Elmer Hintz, and he was there for about 1.5 years, and then he remembered Wilfred and Lila Rick, and after they left, it became a farmers cooperative. Anybody know anything else? And that was the one that was torn down in later years.
Okay.
Because it was too close to the road. Am I correct on that, Brian?
Which is the classic one you're talking
Yeah,
about?
the classic one.
It was torn down to widen the road.
Yeah.
Correct, because it was right on the road. That is
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
And Melvin Yeeney can help us, I guess.
okay. Thank you. Anything else, Kathy?
Nope, Eldon called and he said he couldn't come, they had bus trouble, he's a bus driver.
Oh, okay, very good, thank you. I got a gentleman here who maybe can add some more information. Go right ahead, please.
Melvin Yaney and Wilfred Rick already worked for the farmers as a farm factory. So I don't know when it really turned into a farm factory. But Wilfred was working for the farmers.
Okay, was he a cheesemaker or?
Yes, he was the last cheesemaker there.
Last cheesemaker there, okay. And then now was that what cheese factory again?
That's Pine Grove.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a gentleman here, raise his hand, go right ahead, please.
Fred Jacoby. Well, my father, when he was a young man, I'm thinking when he was, before he went to Iowa, when he was about 21 or so, after he graduated from high school, worked seasonally in these various cheese factories.
Okay.
And so when we used to take a ride when I was a kid, he always stopped to see what was going on. And
Okay.
He knew all these cheesemakers, and all these names are familiar people. The Blunkies were particularly good friends. They, the Gilbert Blunky family and Hilbert Zills and my parents had a social group for many years. And then Gilbert left the cheesemaking business and took over his father-in-law's farm near Plymouth. But I'm still in touch with his son, Gilbert Jr., who lives in the middle of the state somewhere.
Okay.
And so I got to those cheese factories a lot.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, got a gentleman here who has been presented some additional pictures and they're reviewing those. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, Brian Kramer, present owner of the Cloverleaf Cheese Factory. Looking at the postcard that had a picture on it, they were questioning if it was the Cloverleaf Cheese Factory. And it looks a little bit different, but I think it's a later date of when they added an addition on. The original photo back from 18...
Okay, should we compare them
Yeah,
while we
if you
can
can.
here? That'd be good.
The large picture from 1887 was the original building, and you can see it was built up on pylons.
Yes, I see that. Okay, I'm gonna pan over to the latest one on the postcard.
The one now, the existing cheese factory is all ground level, so I believe at the time they added the addition and the stone addition,
Yes.
they filled in the
Okay.
they filled in the ground level, and
Sure.
and they did add different siding. This here is vertical boards, where if we look at the postcard, you can't really see it on here, but it looks like it's like a horizontal siding, and that's what is on there now.
All right.
I would say I wouldn't even know when to venture a guess what this is, but it's probably in the early 1900s.
Okay.
After it was enlarged and remodeled.
Okay.
But I believe it is the same cheese factory.
And again, was there a residence in the factory itself or not?
So there was originally, we're not exactly sure where, but probably on the north end.
Okay.
But there's no way to be sure. But until they moved the house there for the cheesemaker, so there very well could have been living quarters in the cheese factory.
And I presume that this was a boiler type cheese factory. It wasn't a direct flame. I think that sort of went out of the picture after a while, right?
After a while it did. There is a wood or coal boiler in the cheese factory now, so they did have steam heat at a later date, probably when they remodeled, I believe.
Okay. If I may ask also, the location of that boiler, is that in the stone area or was that some other location?
No, that is an area directly to the south of the stone part.
Okay.
There's another, it's actually a room, if you look at the photo, which is really going to be hard to do, but there's actually a room behind this building. So I think they added on more than just the stone portion.
Okay.
I think they had a stone portion and another wood portion
Mm-hmm.
along with it. So the boiler is actually in there. So that would make sense if they had this original cheese factory and then they added additional for the boiler.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why they added that stone part.
Is there still, if I may ask, at the present time, I know it's somewhat dilapidated a little bit, I guess. Is there vats and things like that still remaining in there?
There's one thing that may be a vat. I'm not sure if it's exactly a vat or not. It doesn't really look like a vat, but it may be some kind of vat of some kind.
Okay.
But just, there's not much left in there.
All right. Okay.
Okay, and getting back to your question, until 1908, the living quarters were in the factory.
Okay.
So they did live in the factory until that house was moved there apparently in 1908.
Okay. Very good.
Which may have been around the time when they remodeled the whole factory.
All right. That
Which would
could have
make
been
sense.
Yep. That would have made sense. Yep.
Although the stone part was built in 1899, so
Okay.
maybe they built that part first and then finished the addition at a later date.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
Audrey Ertle,
Thank you, Audrey.
and I know about the my father's cheese factory quite a bit. First known as the Centerville Cheese Factory, owned and operated by Henry Hingus. In 1860, census listed the farm in the name of Aaron Gutt and Dorothy Hingus, section 19, 80 acres. The 1890 census lists the farm in Adolph Hingus. Sometime after 1895, Adolph and Henry built the cheese factory on the northwest corner of the property. Now this would be the cheese factory with Henry Hingus.
Okay.
And this was right after it was built.
Okay. Could you, the cans and everything that was in that front canopy area of the...
This is the intake. This is where the farmers brought the
Okay.
milk.
All right.
And then in old factory state inspection books, it listed Henry Hingus was inspected in 1902, 1908, and 1910. So sometime after 1910, William and Louisa Summer bought it. And the Hingus farm was sold to William Fisher. And they used that old house. They had renters up there.
Okay.
Why anybody would want to rent it, I don't know. They had no inside water and no inside plumbing. But of course, I think, yeah. But there were a lot of people that didn't have inside plumbing
At
and
that
inside
time.
water. Then William Summer sold to his son Walter and Anna Summer. Melvin Yannick said Walter dug a new well while he operated the cheese factory. Walter and Anna Summer sold the cheese factory February 1st, 1926 to John F. and Myrtle Hintz. My father changed the name of the factory to John F. Hintz Cheese Factory. And this is a picture
Okay.
of my father. You needed a lot of wooden logs
Okay.
to burn in the boiler.
Yes.
And he always, I remember going, after the cheese was in the press on Sundays, we'd take a ride to look where there were logs. And this was a picture of my father in his car.
Okay.
My father worked for Irvin Wunsch Cheese Factory in the town of Mosel. That is where he received his cheesemaker license. As far as I know, the factory always had electric motors to run the separator
Okay.
and pump the whey. It had a cast iron boiler to heat the vats, made steam to heat the water. There was also a large pipe running from the factory to the house to heat the house. We had
Okay.
hot and cold running water in the house.
Wow.
In the summer of 1936, my Uncle Edwin worked for my father. He dug a hole for a septic tank to give us indoor toilet. In 1937, my father bought a Ford stake truck. Fred Siegert worked for my father. He was the first truck driver. The cans were the big wide-mouth cans.
Okay.
Eddie Yannick, that's Melvin Yannick's brother,
Yep.
started working for my father in 1939.
Okay.
By
good.
this time, there were a few farmers.
Hold that picture up there, please.
There were a few farmers that used cream cans.
Okay.
There were still farmers that brought their own milk to the factory. Besides picking up milk, he also washed the cans and covers, loaded them back in the truck for the next day. He worked until September 1941 when he joined the Air Force.
Okay.
Elmer Bourne started working for my father, picking up milk and washing cans and covers. December 7th, 1941 brought a lot of changes. There was a draft. Elmer Bourne's mother was a widow with a farm. Her older son ran the farm. The draft board decided she could have 1.5 deferment, and my father could have a half a deferment. So Elmer worked for my father a half a day, and half a day he worked for his mother. My father had 2 vats in the factory about 1940. He bought a nice new, bigger and longer vat, shiny wood on the outside, and all stainless steel vat liner. Now he could use the second vat only in the spring when there was a flush. Sometime in 1945, my father bought 2 new trucks. I don't know what they were. I just know they were red.
Studebaker.
Studebaker?
Studebaker.
Okay.
Good job.
At the same time, he also bought a new can washer. By now, most of the farmers had their milk picked up. After the war, Lake to Lake was getting bigger and taking some of the farmers, some of it also with state was making more demands for safety and health.
Okay.
I thought I had another, oh here. This is a picture.
Okay, hold it up nice and steady.
This is the picture of the cheese factory, and this is the one that was on the postcards. This is in the summertime, and this is in the wintertime.
All right. Okay.
The small cheesemaker was having trouble keeping up. My father closed the cheese factory on May 1st, 1948, and hauled the milk to Very Fine Dairy in Sheboygan. He had 35 patrons. In 1950, my brother went in the service for the Korean War. My father sold the trucks and the route to Vernon and Clarence Groupie, and they later sold to Gilbert Bussey. They still hauling to Very Fine Dairy. I was told my father's cheese factory was the last to close in the town of Centerville.
Okay.
My father made what were cheddar longhorns, weighing 12 to 13 pounds, 6 inches across, about 12 inches tall. A few times a year he made midgets, same cheese, just 10 inches across and 5 inches tall.
Okay.
He used these for resale in the factory for customers he sold to. We had for resale, besides the cheese he made, we had butter, cottage cheese, brick cheese, Limburger cheese. Sunday, a lot of times, was a big day. People came from Sheboygan, Kohler, and other places. They liked to eat curds out of the vat. Farmers could order anything they wanted, and the truck driver would deliver when he picked up their milk. That pretty much covers.
Wow.
Unless you wanted to, this is a picture of a different cheesemaker, Roland Ulm.
Okay.
You know, when they're cutting the curds.
Hold that steady for me, please.
And this was when they cut the cheese after the whey had been off.
All right.
Then they cut it up in little pieces, and this was when it got salted, and then people were interested. It would squeak between your teeth when you ate it.
Now you say that was Roland Ulm?
Roland Ulm. He made a book of all the cheese factories in the town in Manitowoc County.
Okay.
And this was one of the pictures that was in his book.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Audrey?
Well, not unless you wanted to know how cheese is made.
Well, I think how close are we, Kathy?
We're very close, 1 minute.
Okay, that's close. Well, Audrey, I can only say again, I thank you very much for your information. You did a fine job also. I'd like to do one more thing before we cut this evening, and that is I'd like to have Mrs. Brookson explain that little piece of equipment that Mr. Bauer was showing.
Brookson.
Okay, Virginia.
This is the clothesline hook. You start with a hook on one end of your lot.
Okay.
You bring your clothesline over till here, and you put it over here.
Yes.
And then you let it go down underneath this thing
Underneath
here.
that. Could you show me a little profile? Could you turn that a little bit for me? Just rotate it like that.
This way?
There we go. Thank you. I'm going to take a close up. Just hold it for a moment. Okay, go ahead and point out again, please.
You start close on one end, you hook your clothesline on a hook, and then you bring it over to through here,
Yes,
and then it goes down underneath this here.
yes.
And then you can continue over to the next post. See, and then that.
Automatically locks up the clothesline.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, very, very good. Thank you very much for that explanation because Mr. Bauer was baffled here. There we go.
Not the wrong way.
Okay, we had an interesting evening, but Kathy will give us the finite things that we did. Right ahead, please.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and as we go around and identify ourselves, and I want to thank all the people with the wonderful information that they had, and Audrey for all her research again. As we go around this evening, there are some newcomers, and some of you, I don't know your address. So would you put your address on tape so that I can get it for next time off the tape? Okay?
Very good. Thank you, Kathy.
That way you'll get a card.
Okay, go right ahead, please.
Ramber, Emmerich, and it's Post Office Box 202, Cleveland, 5315, isn't it?
Okay, very good.
015.
Thank you. Want to repeat that last one for a moment?
53015.
Thank you very much. Okay, very good. Thank you for coming. And who do you have here, please?
Brian Kramer,
Address too, please.
12221 South Union Road, Newton, Wisconsin.
Thank you. Very good. And who do you have here, please?
Joyce Kramer, 1146 West Jefferson, Cleveland.
Very good. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Daniel Rathman, and it's 12327 North Centerville.
Very good. Thank you for coming this evening. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Fred Jacoby,
And address, please?
2018 Ram Road, Manitowoc,
Thank you.
54220. I didn't think you needed that.
Okay.
She's got my address.
She's got your address. Okay. You, sir?
Daniel Schmidt, 522B Crestwood Drive, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, 53020.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And who do you have here, please?
Naomi Schmidt, 522B Crestwood Drive, Elkhart Lake.
Thank you for coming. And who do you have here, please?
Ruth Russell, 820 North 9th Street, apartment 104, Sheboygan.
Very good. Thank you for coming also.
Marie Boland, and Kathy has my address.
She has your address. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Audrey Ertle and Kathy has my address also.
Very good. Thank you.
Clarence Brookson, 907 Center Street, Cleveland.
Very good, Clarence. Thank you for your information tonight.
Virginia Brooks, Cleveland.
Okay, Virginia, thank you for explaining everything. And here we go.
Willard Mathias, Cleveland.
Thank you, Willard. And who do you have in the back there, please?
John Wiegand, Town of Centerville.
Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Walter Kress, Village of Cleveland.
Thank you very much for coming this evening. Back there, please.
Alvin Yanish, and I live in Cleveland, and I want to correct Audrey on the side of the Longhorn. It was 6 inches on top, 8 inches on the bottom, and it was at least 16 to 18 inches long.
Okay, so it was a tapered thing.
Pardon?
It was tapered.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You could pound them out.
Okay. Good job. Thank you. Okay, who do you have here, please?
Joe Kress, Town of Mosul.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Miss Peggy Ann Kress and Kathy has our address.
She has it too. Thank you very much.
Kathy Wagner, and she has my address.
Very good.
Lois Kress.
And Kathy has everything she needs.
Yeah.
And here we have another lady.
Marie Pippert, Kathy, I was put down 920, it's 927 Center Street.
Good job, Marie. Thank you. Good job. Good job. And who do you have here, please?
Edith Litzy, 695 East Washington.
Very good. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Charlie Bauer, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank LTC for providing us with a punch tonight.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
Good. Thank you very much. And Jerry O'Neill, the videographer, again, from the Newton area, 7301 Rangeline Road. And I'd like to thank personally everybody who came this evening. The responses were great. And I like this room full of faces. It's fun to work with. So we'll go right on here to our leader, and she'll finalize the evening.
The next meeting is going to be on Pleasant Hill School, Saxon School, and Marie Ziegler Boland and Ruth Russell and John Wiegand are all going to be bringing us information,
Okay.
as much as they can find.
Okay. And
And anybody else too.
Pardon? And it's going to be January 8th, 2007.
Wow, very good.
No December.
No December.
No December. We're taking off in December. We need a rest. That's right.
Very good. Well, thank you, Kathy, and I guess that'll do it for the evening. I'm with Mr. Charlie Bauer, and we're on a mission today, and he'll explain what we're all about. Go right ahead, please.
We're at our second stop in locating the cheese factories that were in the Township of Centerville, and we're at the intersection of South Union Road and North Avenue.
Okay.
And North Avenue is also referred to as XX.
All right.
And we're located just north of XX and west of South Union Road.
Okay.
And the house number here is 9014 North Avenue, and we're in section number 19 in the town of Centerville.
Okay.
And that's all I have here at the location.
Okay, and again, there was a former cheese factory here.
Yes, there was.
Exactly almost where you're standing, I presume.
In front of this building towards the east, I believe. Yes.
Oh, in
And I
front of the
think
building,
Audrey-
but to the east. I'm going to pan here, Charlie. Just stay there for a moment.
No.
Okay, I'm panning to the east, and I'm standing right off of, what's the road again here, Charlie?
That would be South Union Road.
Okay.
And you can see there was plenty of room for an extra building in
Yes,
front of the
yes,
house.
it was available. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, I got a gentleman here who is directing traffic a little bit on his own here. Go right ahead, mister.
I'm Charlie Bauer,
Oh.
and next to me is... Nice and loud.
Nice and loud. One more time, please.
Schultz.
Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Stephen Schultz.
Thank you. And who do you have in the back there?
I'm Deanne Schultz, and we bought this property in 1995.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we got a gentleman here who would like to identify himself, please.
Melvin Yadish.
Okay, thank you, Melvin. And who is this, please?
Ed Hickman.
Thank you, Ed.
As a young person of around 10 or so, in
Yes.
late 30s and early 40s, I used to ride along with a panel truck that Dad had, and we picked up cream here at the John Hintz Cheese
Okay.
Factory.
All
which
right.
My dad made butter.
Okay, good.
I remember full well
Okay.
getting into the place and listening to her John Hintz with his booming low voice.
Good. And you say you picked up butter here, is that correct?
Well, no, we picked up cream. My dad made butter.
Okay, all right.
Cream.
All right. Thank you. Thank
And
you, Ed.
where would that have been, Ed?
I got Okay, we got a young lady who had a question for Ed. Go right ahead, please.
Kathy Sixel and Ed, where was your cheese factory located, or your dad's?
It was in Spring Valley, just
Okay.
about 3 miles northwest of here.
All right, very good. And we've got another young lady here, and she'd like to indicate her name, please.
I'm Audrey Ertle, and I used to live here.
Okay.
This is the picture of when the cheese factory was first built.
Okay, great. Just hold it like that, please. Now, is there remnants of the building behind there in the picture? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the house.
Okay, I'm going to pan. Just hold it there yet, Audrey. And I'm going to pan back. And there's the house we're standing in front of. And again, this is the present owners, as they indicated. So they're part of a major history condition here. We appreciate that. So I'll turn back to you, Audrey, and you can indicate any more information you've got on that picture.
They called it the Centerville Cheese Factory when it was built around 1899.
Okay.
And the brother farmed all this land, was Hinga's land, and they had buildings up there, and the brother helped him build the factory.
Okay.
And then Henry Hingus was the first cheesemaker.
All right. Okay, and anything else?
And then Henry Hingus sold to William Summers, and then to Walter and Anna Summers. And February 1st, 1926, sold to John and Myrtle Hintz. The name was changed to John F. Hintz Cheese Factory, northwest corner of Union Road and Old 149.
Okay.
Closed in 1948, believed to be the last cheese factory in the township that was still running.
Okay, could we see that picture you have in your
This
hand?
is the picture of when the factory belonged to my folks.
Okay, hold it steady for a moment. Right, thank you. Okay, we've got the picture being held by Audrey, and looks like they had a weigh tank out in front. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is the weigh tank, and later years, Western Condensing put up a big high tank.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we got Audrey here. I would say, go ahead, Audrey, please.
Okay. Where was I? Okay. The Western Condensing put up a high tank, and they collected the whey, and the whey was then they started making baby food and different things with the whey.
Oh,
but
okay.
when this whey tank was in existence, the farmers used to come. They unloaded their milk here.
Okay, hold that picture steady. Okay.
And then they drove down to the whey tank.
All right.
And they'd put whey in their cans and take it home to feed to their pigs.
All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Audrey. Okay, a young lady here who would like to ask a question or provide some information. Go right ahead.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and I would like Audrey to identify the man in the photo, please.
Okay, hold the photo steady. Okay.
The man was Henry Hingis.
All right.
He was the owner of the cheese factory at that time.
Okay.
And he and his brother built the cheese factory.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Okay, the question was if the present owners knew what the age of their home was at this point, and I guess Audrey has an answer for that. Go right ahead, please.
Okay. I believe it was built in 1899 because the plat books, like 1893, showed this all to be just field.
Okay.
And 1899, they showed the square on the corner.
Yes.
So I believe the house and the factory were built in 1899 because the first cheese making was 1900.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. We're at the intersection of South Union Road and Point Creek Road. And Mr. Bauer will give us more information what we're all about today. Again, today is September 26, 2006. Okay, I'm with Mr. Bauer. He'll identify himself in full and tell us what we're all about today. Go right ahead.
Bauer, and we're at our fourth stop in recounting where the cheese factories were in the town of Centerville. And we're on South Union Road and Point Creek at the intersection. And the cheese factory was located just east of South Union Road and south of Union Road.
Okay.
Approximately right behind me.
All right.
And we're in section 8. And the house number here is 11111 South Union Road.
Okay.
And the cheese factory was known as the Pine Grove Cheese Factory.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Right now, Charlie, there's nothing here. Is that correct?
No, the buildings are all totally gone.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But this was the location.
Okay.
What was the name of this yet?
Pine Grove Cheese Factory.
Okay. Just hold it steady. Okay, we have some information. Maybe this young lady can start us out, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and this was the Pine Grove Cheese Factory, and it was run by Adolf Klessig and some other Klessigs. Audrey has a little bit more information on it, and I remember when it was torn down, there was a lot of controversy with the town and so forth, but just exactly what it was all about, I don't know.
Okay.
So.
Very good. I'll pan over then to this young lady. She can identify herself. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Audrey Ertle, and this started out as the Klessig farm, and one of the Adolf Klessig built the cheese factory, and then Leo Klessig ran the cheese factory, and at the end, August Klessig ran the cheese factory.
Okay. Okay. And the building would have been right behind you folks as you're standing here?
Right.
And we'd be looking to the southwest, is that correct?
Southwest.
Okay,
right.
we're looking that direction there. Okay, very good. Okay, we got a picture. Do you know what the age at that time when that picture was taken by any chance?
No, I do not.
Okay.
But Wilford Rick was the last cheesemaker that was here.
All right. Okay. And they demolished it for what reason? Just
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they wanted to put up their own facility or garage or something.
all right. Very good. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, we're at County Trunk F and Center Road intersection. And we'll have Mr. Bauer explain a bit more information here. Okay, well, I guess we have Mr. Bauer here and he'll finalize some location conditions here. Go right
Yes,
ahead,
we're on our 5th stop in locating the cheese factories in the town of Centerville. And we're in section 5.
Okay.
And we're on the intersection of Center Road and County Trunk F. And we're just west of Center Road.
Okay.
And we are south of County F on the intersection here.
Yes, sir.
And we have a little debate of what address we should use, but the house number here with the residents behind me over here is 6603.
Okay.
And then the building behind the garage here, that address there is 6619, which is often referred to today as the Packer Inn, and that building had many different names.
Okay.
This cheese factory was either called the Town Line Cheese Factory or Arnold Kepsel. We're not sure. We're going to debate that at great length at our meeting, I believe.
Okay. And across the street here, just for location purposes, is what?
Is the cemetery for St. John Cemetery?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. Very good. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Just a minute. One moment.
Okay, we have a picture that is being held by Kathy Sixel, and she maybe can tell us a little bit about it.
This picture, well, first of all, this was Town Line Cheese Factory. There was no picture available, and this was the Kepsel truck, and we're debating if it was Arnold Kepsel ran the factory was the information I have until it was burned down.
Okay.
And Arnold Kepsel's truck was used for hauling milk for Very Fine. So maybe he did even have that truck.
Okay.
That it was when he, in later years, we're not sure. But
We're not
that's
sure.
all that was available when I did the history for the township for the 150 years.
Okay. Okay, I got a young lady here who's knowledgeable about cheese factories, and she'd like to indicate her name and some information. Go right ahead.
I'm Audrey Ertle, and we believe the cheese factory was in back here, the house, and then there was the cheese factory. But of course, Charlie and I are having a dispute. I said number 5 was Town Line Cheese Factory, and number 6 was Arnold Kepsel Cheese Factory, and he says that's all one. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, Charlie, what are you saying there again?
That's the information I have, that there was owned by Arnold Kepsel, but maybe the factory's name was called the Town Line Cheese Factory. Maybe they did business under that particular name.
Okay.
And it's kind of hard to prove one way or the other.
Oh,
you know.
okay. All right.
And we do know there was, on an old plat map, there was another cheese factory just east of us on the same town line road here. On County F, which is the town line between Centerville and the town of Newton.
All right.
So
now, as far as the age of the plat map that you're referring to.
1893.
All right.
And mine was 1977.
Okay. All right. And you had compiled some information for a previous centennial, sesquicentennial, if you will?
It was 150 years for the town of Centerville.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else anybody got here as far as just basics at this point?
No, I think that covers
Okay.
everything.
Yes, Kathy.
And as long as we have a debate going on, when I did this history for the Township of Centerville, some people had said it was where Packer Inn was, and then they rebuilt that into a tavern.
Okay.
And then, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. That's
We're all mixed up there, you know.
I can
And then,
understand.
of course, that tavern burnt down, and that would have been twice the same thing would have burned.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody can help us out on this.
Good.
It,
Good.
But the tavern at one time was a bowling alley, and then it was Wanniger's.
It burned when it was a bowling alley.
When it was a bowling alley.
Okay.
And then, well, Charlie, who rebuilt it?
That I do not know.
Okay.
Okay, and nice and loud, please. We have a young lady here who has got some information that's a little contradiction of other information. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Audrey Ertle, and I was told Town Line Cheese Factory next to Dale Erdman Farm. And Arnold Kepsel Cheese Factory, County Road F, a fire destroyed the building, and when it was rebuilt, it was a tavern.
Okay.
But now, Charlie says that's all the same cheese factory.
All right. Very good. Thank you. And now we have another additional information. Go right ahead, please.
Kathy Sixel, and there was a truck just stopped, and the gentleman was from New Holstein, and he owned the shed right behind me, and he said he just sold it, and that was part of the cheese factory, and that's where this truck was parked.
Okay.
And he said the cheese factory was located at where Packer Inn is today.
Okay. Very good.
So I'm losing this argument 2-1.
2-1. We'll resolve that at our meeting. Thank you very much, folks. Okay, I'm standing to the northeast here, and it's County F and Goss Lake Road intersection. And we will have some information from Mr. Bauer to add to this. Okay, I got Mr. Bauer here, and he'll give us some information. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, we're on our 6th stop in the cheese factory locations in Centerville here. We're at section 3, and the intersection of the road here is County F and Goss Lake Road, and we believe that cheese factory, according to the 1893 plat map, indicates the cheese factory was on the west side of Goss Lake Road.
Okay.
And the south side of County F, right where you see the cornfield growing here.
Yes, sir.
And one thing that might indicate that there was another structure here is if you look down here, you're going to see some rose bushes.
Okay.
And a cedar tree growing.
All right.
And that is not a wild thing. That would have been, I believe it would have been planted here, but we don't have any information on the name of the cheese factory or how long it was in business.
All right. No name at all.
No, none whatsoever, no.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Charlie. And again, could you give us our road one more time?
The location here is County F and Goss Lake Road.
Okay. Thank you, Charlie.
Section 3.
Very good. Appreciate it. Okay, we got one more thing we'd like to add. We're at the area where we think another building was located, but Mr. Bauer will provide some more information.
Yes, we went just due east of our previous stop at the Capsule or the Town Line Cheese Factory.
Okay.
And we're approximately 1.5 miles, 2 miles apart from them two.
All right.
And it would be in a good place for a cheese factory. We're at an intersection.
Yes, sir.
And it would make sense to us.
Okay, sounds good, Charlie. Thank you. And with Mr. Charlie Bauer, we're standing on a certain highway. He will give us a description of the locations. Go right ahead, please.
We're on Centerville Road, and the intersection to my right, which would be north of me, is County X. We're approximately 300-400 feet to the south of that.
Okay.
And the cheese factory here is the Maple Leaf Cheese Factory.
All right.
We're in section 15, and the house number here is 12327 Centerville Road.
Okay.
And the cheese factory is located east of Centerville Road.
All right.
Beautiful structure yet.
It's a brick structure, right, Charlie?
Yes, all brick structure, yes.
Okay. And is it affiliated with the home that we have on the north here?
I believe the two buildings go together, yes.
Okay. Very good, Charlie. I'll pan a little bit to encompass that to you, just so it helps. Well, I will. Thank you, Charlie. We have a group of good-natured guests here who are wonderful people who went along with us today to investigate the cheese factory areas. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and we are at the Maple Leaf Cheese Factory, also known as the Kilsmeyer Cheese Factory. It is located on Centerville Road. It was started in 1878. It was later owned by Otto Sixel until 1933, and here's the photo.
Okay, just hold it right there, Kathy. Okay, just keep holding it. Okay, very good. Thank you. And we have another lady here. She may be able to add information. She'll give us her name, please.
I'm Audrey Ertle, but I pretty much had the same thing that Kathy already said, except I think this Kilsmeyer was the last cheesemaker here.
Okay.
Well,
Not,
I knew the Sixel's daughter that lived here. And so I don't know. I called her. I have no idea.
Oh, okay. But I do know there was a Kilsmeyer, a cheesemaker here.
Okay, very good. And we have another gentleman who will introduce himself. Perhaps he's got some information too. Go right ahead.
Well, Ed Heckman, and I don't really know a lot about the place. I knew it was here, but I have no real knowledge of it.
Okay. You never went through here to pick up any
No,
cream or anything like that?
Never was down here as a kid or picking up cream or...
Okay, very good. Well, we can take some other shots of the building, and if anybody has a thought or two, we'll record that. Thank you. Oh yes, we got one here.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and this property is for sale, and the realtor told me that they are closing on Friday, that a couple from Chicago bought it, and she is an artist, and this is the reason that it sold, was the cheese factory.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and you indicate we can go in this one too? No.
No.
Okay.
He said come back when they're here. Everything is padlocked.
Okay, we're looking to the northeast, and we're still looking at this actually wonderful cheese factory in pretty darn good condition. Very unique, all brick, metal roof. Wow. Okay, I'm now looking to the northwest. Okay, we're now inside the cheese factory, and that's cleaned out pretty well. We got big timbers in here.
Anybody have any idea where they would have had a boiler?
Is there any?
Well, there's a chimney here, and there's a chimney right there, so it would have to have been one and two rooms here, I would think, huh? Good job.
Okay, Mr. Bauer, you had a question pertaining to the chimneys or something like that?
Well,
boilers and that type of thing? Okay. And Ed had a different answer for you?
are we rolling, Kate?
Yes, we are.
Oh, yeah, Audrey was asking us if we indicated we could see where the boiler was located, and Ed came up and he reminded us that years ago they made it a little different, and we'll have Ed explain that.
Well, many years ago, they fired right under the vat.
Okay.
They must have had a chimney there too, but it certainly wasn't a boiler. It was
all right.
Wood fired.
Wood fired, direct.
Right under the vat.
Right under the vat. Okay.
I'm sure by the time the 1880s or 70s or whenever.
Yeah.
They of course had boilers and heated with steam.
All right. Okay.
Pipe under the vat.
All right. Thank you very much, Ed. Appreciate it. Okay, we're just inside the factory for a moment, and we just want to take one additional view here. And we're looking to the southwest, I believe. We are now located in the village of Cleveland, and again today's date is September 26, 2006, and Mr. Barr will fill us in on location and so forth. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, we're in the village of Cleveland, like Mr. O'Neill said, and Washington Street is right behind Jerry. And the cross street coming across here is Juniper Street.
Juniper, okay.
And we're in section 28 of the township. And we're at our 8th stop and locating the different cheese factories and dairies that were in the town of Centerville.
Okay.
And the house address here is 1063 West Washington.
Okay.
And the factory would be on the south side of Washington Street.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, we're on a mission today, and this young lady will give her identification, please.
I'm Audrey Ertle.
Thank you, Audrey. And who do you have here, please?
Ed Heckman.
Thank you, Ed. And we got another gentleman just joined us.
Willard Matthias.
Thank you, Willard. And we
Kathy
got
Sixel.
Kathy, thank you.
Charlie Bauer.
And Charlie Bauer. Now we'll come back to the center area here, and this gentleman who just joined us has some facts that might be worthy of notation here. Go right ahead, please.
Wait, hold it.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you
Okay, we got a gentleman here who would again indicate what we're standing in front of at this point in time. Go right ahead, please.
We're standing in front of the Matthias Dairy,
Okay.
and my folks bought the place in 1926 from Sixel, and
What was the next Sixel's first name?
what was it? Edward Sixel.
Okay.
And then when he bought the place, he had 14 farms.
Oh my gosh.
And beside making cheese, he run a mink ranch. And when he got done with the mink ranch, then he started in with turkeys. He did everything just to keep on going because there wasn't enough farms around this area. And in those days, the farmers would bring their milk.
Yes.
To the dairy, and then you didn't have a truck.
All right.
And then later on, he did buy a truck, and then I forget what year that was, but then we started picking up more stops that other little cheese factories were going out of business, and we a couple here and a couple there. So then we run that truck for quite a few years, just one truck. And cheese was being made, and all the cans had to be washed by hand and put back on the truck again for the next day.
Okay.
And we also made butter at that time.
All right.
And I don't know. Then later on, all the while he had the factory, he was bottling milk for around the village.
Okay.
Here. And when the trucks later on, we had more trucks. Then the trucks would stop in Haven and deliver milk there while they were going through it, or Newton, or Osmond, wherever the trucks were going through it. There was a little village.
Yeah.
We would stop and deliver milk.
Okay.
And what else we started with?
Here is one of your trucks.
That's
got a picture there you can show us, Willard? Sure.
That this 1938, 39, something like that. Truck.
Okay.
And I was sure it was a Chevrolet, but whatever. But anyway, then when we were picking up your milk, we'd have a tank in the back of this cab where they had weigh-in.
All right.
And the farmers wanted their byproduct.
Oh.
From we would deliver their weight to right to the farmer when he picked up his milk.
Okay.
And at that time we got 5 cents 100 for picking up the milk. So you can see you couldn't pay your help too much at that time. No one did make much money. Then you want to go to this picture now?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now this is the picture of later on where we had a tank out here for our whey.
Okay.
And then a whey company from Adel would come and pick up the whey.
All right.
But
okay, Willard has some information regarding the whey that was picked up by people. Right ahead, please.
And this, right next to this building where the office is now, we had a big tank up there that held the whey for the farmers so that they could come and park next to it, and we didn't have to have another tank outside.
Okay, they just
this was inside then.
By gravity feed down to the.
Yep.
All right.
And we pump it in from the factory.
All right. Now you got another picture there, Willard. Is that? Can you look at that a little bit?
The one from later on when we put the office on in the front of the building.
Oh, you did that?
Yes. But he did. Since then, he did remodel this because the people would. This was our coal chutes at one time, where the coal would come in, and then the boilers were in this area.
All right.
And a great big tank was in there that we would cool. It would freeze all the water, and then we'd keep pumping our milk
Oh.
Just water through our lines.
Okay, keep it cool. I'm gonna cut. Okay, continue on there, Willard.
The tank that was in here, that would be like an ice bank.
Okay.
And then when the milk would come in the morning, we put in that milk. A lot of it went into the holding tank.
All right.
And then we would run this through our pasteurizer.
Okay.
Plate pasteurizer, and we would cool this milk off.
Okay.
That went in there.
All right.
So.
All right. Well.
And this. Okay. And this little building that's right on the end over there.
Yeah.
That was our. At one time it was our cheese cooler.
Okay.
But then when we got into bottling more, we eliminated the cheese cooler, and then we bought the other factory. On the other side of town, we hauled it all over there, but kept this one for the bottled milk.
What was the name of that place that you used there?
Lutzy Cheese House.
Lutzy Cheese House. Okay. Now again, the final question, I guess, would be: it looked like you were having a good business going here, and what may have happened to cause it to decline?
Well, one thing it was, our boilers were getting old.
Yep.
And the state was after us on our pollution deal on running the stuff out in the back.
Yep.
And we did bottled milk for 5 different dairies at one time, and 2 of them weren't paying us the way they should have.
Oh no.
And then from the month of December, January, and February, we had we have 4 trucks on the road delivering the milk to house.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine, some of them not paying
their
bills either.
Yeah.
So we had always had so much money to be on the books where we couldn't use it.
Yep.
And then you'd get some and then it'd be gone again. So
Yeah. Okay.
It was a hard time making a living.
I can understand. Well, I do thank you, Willard, for taking the time.
Well, at our peak, we had 26 employees working for us.
Really? Oh my gosh.
And 105 farms.
Wow, fantastic. Well, again, I do want to thank you, Willard, and we'll be using this clip on our next meeting coming up to fill in all the gaps about cheese factories and milk factories. Thank you very much, Willard. Thank you. Okay, Willard has a little bit more information in regard to the olden days. Go right ahead, please.
Oh, in the older days, in this part where the office is now, this was our where we kept blocks of ice.
Okay.
From our little pond where the firehouse is now.
Oh, okay.
We would take this ice. The farmers would help my dad.
Yeah.
And they would take this ice off of that pond.
Yes.
And haul it over to this part at the dairy.
Yes.
And then they would cover it, so much ice, so much sawdust.
Okay.
So much ice, so much sawdust.
All right.
And then they'd keep at it until close to spring. And then when people had ice boxes but didn't have no ice, no way to get it, they would come and buy it from my dad.
Oh.
And you never had, I don't know what they paid, 15 cents. I know one time somebody paid them 15 cents. But
okay.
We would use that ice for ourselves in our small cooler that we had when they bottled milk for the people around the village and the surrounding areas.
Okay.
And for keeping the butter and thing.
Yeah.
And the cream. And we would put these chunks of ice in that cooler to keep the stuff cold.
Okay.
So we used most of it ourselves at
All
that
right.
time.
And what year was that about?
Oh, that I would say, pardon me, got it off. God, that must have been 36, 37.
All right.
Like
Very good.
if not a little before.
Sure.
Well, he had it already right after he bought the place.
Okay. All right.
And Willard, you said we got ice out of the pond. Did
And
you
he
say
pointed where it was? Yes.
Yeah,
he
pointed.
did.
Tell it was the Firehouse Pond, right?
Yeah.
And then that they went ice skating on this pond, and maybe you should say that.
Go right ahead.
Over there where our firehouse is standing now, there used to be a pond.
Okay.
There, and that pond was used for in case somebody had a fire someplace, they could get the water out of that, pump the water out of that pond.
Sure.
And then they could use it for fires.
Okay.
And during the winter when it was froze over, then we would take the ice off of that pond.
All right.
And take it over to our dairy for the cooling of the milk.
Good.
And that pond, I remember one time when Kenny Schnell's building was burning up there, we drained it. They used so much water, they run out of water, and then the Western Condensing Company came with a load of whey, and we used that whey for that fire too.
No kidding. Very good. Thank you very much, Willard. Thank you. In a different location around this particular cheese factory building, and Charlie has a question.
Yes, we're standing here probably on the south side and the west side, I suppose. And I was just asking Willard over here what this little door is over here on the brick part.
Okay.
Okay. That little door was from the cooler. But the trucks would back up in the morning and up to that door.
Yeah.
And there'd be a man inside, and they'd give him their slip of what he wanted for his route for that day.
Oh.
And he would shove it out that door to them and he'd check it off inside.
Okay.
That they got everything they ordered.
Okay.
And then that side door, well, that would lead you right into the cheese factory area.
All right.
Okay.
And that other door that's there, that's where we move equipment in and out.
All right.
Say you wanted a bat or a press or something.
Okay.
Anything we needed that had to be put in the factory, that's where that door, that's what that door is for.
Now, you didn't have any freezer abilities here to people wanted to put their meat or anything like that,
No,
right?
no.
Okay.
Heckman and Rody and Newton had that.
All right.
So it didn't pay for us to start that either.
Okay.
And if you see where that cement block is over there,
right there,
that's
Okay. Yes.
that's where our holding tank was sticking out of.
Oh.
That was half out of the building.
All right.
Or 3/4 out of the building, and it held about 20,000 pounds of milk. And the rest of that building and over further, that's where the two cheese vats were in that each held 12,500 pounds of milk.
Okay. You're talking no, not that one.
No,
huh?
this, on this on the
Other side there.
Yeah, on
All
this
right.
side. And that cement building was built later on.
Okay.
That was for the trucks to go in to get washed, and during the winter they'd be in there to stay out of the weather.
Sure.
Those are just the house-to-house trucks.
Oh.
Delivery trucks.
Delivery trucks for.
in there.
Okay.
All milk truck. We only had 3 of our own trucks that picked up milk in the morning.
All right.
And we had 2 other cheese factories that closed.
Okay.
Where they came and brought their own milk here.
All right.
So we had 5 trucks coming in with milk every day.
And them trucks would come in and use this driveway here?
No, they'd use the other. This was more or less used for this, in case. Well, yes, I would say we'll get up to that.
It's on the other side. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
We just moved to the east side of the building now, and we're
Yeah.
still at the southern end of the building here. And I was just wondering where the trucks came and brought the milk
Yes.
to, and if it was on this side of the building here or what. So.
Okay. Go right ahead, sir.
You see where that step is now over there?
Oh yeah, I can point it out.
Oh, wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Hold it.
Yep.
Models that time, where those old doors are standing there now.
Yes, those two.
That's where the milk came into.
All right.
And then when they came in and they went down that area all the way down,
Yep.
a little further, from there's where the dumping station was, where
Okay.
they dumped the milk.
All right.
We had 2 tanks. Each one held 500 pounds.
Okay.
And each farmer we had the 2 tanks where one farmer would have grade A milk and the other one would have grade B milk.
Yes.
And if we used one tank for the grade A, that would go into the other holding tank, which was on the other side of that last blocks. There was another holding tank
Okay.
that held about 15,000 pounds of milk.
Wow. Okay. Holy cow.
And then that would put the grade A milk would all go in there. The grade B milk from that other tank would go into that holding tank.
Direction over there. Okay.
And where that window is now, that's where the cans came out of.
Oh, the
Okay.
empty cans.
Empty after they
Empty
went
can.
through the can washer. They'd come out of there,
Yeah.
and there was a track that run all the way down to the end of that window, that's down there.
Really?
There was a track, because by the time the trucker got done unloading all his milk, then he could drive around and load up his cans again.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I was going to let Charlie do this. Maybe he can. About living quarters.
Yes. Was there anybody living up here? I noticed there's a lot of windows upstairs.
Okay. Yes, my brother first, when he first came out to Cleveland here, there was no.
Your brother's name?
Merlin.
Merlin?
When Merlin first came to Cleveland here, then he was at Sunshine Dairy in Sheboygan, and he came out here. And then there was no place for him to live, so they fixed up this end of the dairy, this end.
Yeah.
And there were 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
And that little room on the way in that corner, that was the bathroom. This was a bedroom, that was a bedroom, and that was a bedroom, and then there was a kitchen and a living room.
Okay. Holy cow.
And so then when he moved out, then I moved in. And then that was when you could have all the hours you wanted.
Okay.
You didn't have to go far to drive there or drive. Some days or some weeks, maybe out of the whole week, I didn't get outside at all. I was inside all day.
Oh my gosh.
Great.
Okay, well, thank you.